about is to basically how you can expand your services to help people to make successful transitions and in the process to expand your income sources. Just to do first housekeeping, if you have any questions, just please write them down in the question box, and I'll make sure that your questions are answered during this broadcast. The first thing is, who is Successful Transition Planning Institute? Basically, we're a national and global recognized innovative leader in the head and heart issues of people going through life transitions. We do not deal with the wallet issues, the financial. We do not do the transactional component. Our focus is the soft issues, which very often are people have found out to be actually the hard issues when people are going through major life transitions. We have trained transition advisors across the United States. We are strong through Australia, Canada, South Africa, and United Kingdom. We've trained over 50 professional advisors. And first, we're talking about successful transition plan. What is transitions? Each of ours experience in our daily life a very linear sequence. We get up in the morning, have breakfast, midday, sometimes we have lunch, and then we have dinner and go to bed at night. So A leads to B. Well, when people go through a major life transition, it's reversed. First, it's an ending of the old, be it be owning a business, be it working in a corporation, be it be any major life transition. So it's an ending and then a beginning, which is of the unknown. And in that process, in between, it's very confusing. Basically, people are leaving their comfort zone. What used to give them meaning and what gave them structure is they're moving out of that. But it also provides a great opportunity to be able to create a whole new, fulfilling, meaningful, and satisfying new life. We don't use the word exit planning. In fact, we talk about transition planning. And it's interesting is that originally the name of the company when I first started was Successful Exit Planning Institute. But what happened was, I'll tell you a story. I was flying down to Philadelphia to be on a panel discussion for an exit planning conference. And I was sitting on the tarmac in the plane. One of the times it was early morning. I thought I'm going to actually watch what the flight attendants going to do. So, obviously I knew how to put the belt on. So I watched, and it was after doing the buckling your belt. Next thing the flight attendant did was to point out where the exit doors were on the plane. And I said to myself, I'm only going to use that exit door in a bad situation. Then I flew down to the conference, and to the side of me, one of the other panel members was a investment banker from a very large firm in Philadelphia where the conference was being held. And I was talking about the soft issues, and he turned to me after and he said, that is exactly a major problem that needs to be dealt with. He goes, I can't tell you how often our firm has got burnt by seller's remorse, which means about halfway, 3/4 of the transaction, the business owner, is meeting all their financial objectives, saying all the correct things on top of the conference table, but because unresolved fears and the realization, oh my word, this thing's really going to happen, they kill the deal for no business reason. In fact, it's got so bad that now investment bankers and mergers and acquisition firms are putting major penalty clauses into their contract if a owner pulls out of a deal for no business reason. After I came back from the conference, that weekend I went to a play with my wife called the Jersey Boys. And after the play, we ended up leaving through an exit door. And I didn't know if I was going to be come out on the street or on an alley or what alley. And I realized that words really matter. So what I did was went back and changed the name. So from Successful Exit Planning Institute to Successful Transition Planning Institute. Because planning for how to leave is often described as exiting, but really exit can have negative connotations. And we exit and emerge because we don't know where we will end up. So transition planning is a positive approach. The process of transition planning prepares you for new beginnings in a fulfilling new life. Basically, there's a future you can't wait to go to. In this webinar, we'll be talking how you can expand your income by addressing 3 key transition questions for prospects and clients. The first one is, who am I? Then for business owners, what am I going to do with my business? And then for everyone, what's next after this major life transition? And actually, my business partner was a good example, Paul Cronin, of this story. I met Paul at an exit planning breakfast meeting. This young man sat aside of me and we got talking. I was very impressed by his thinking and just who he was as a person. And I said to Paul, you know, what do you do? Yeah, Paul asked me, what do I do? I said, I help owners transition other companies. And I didn't realize that Paul was exactly at that position in his own life. In fact, he told me a story afterwards, is that the day before, he was sitting on the beach. He owns a cottage down on Cape Cod, and he was watching the sunset, celebrating the check had just gone through he had just sold a business. So he's having a couple beers, and all of a sudden his phone rings from a good friend, and the good friend congratulated him and said, you know, what are you going to do now? And Paul said, you know, thanks. You just killed my buzz. Thank you. And that's when Paul and I met the next morning, and we made a connection. And 8 years later, we still a meeting. But Paul didn't know what he was going to do. What's next? So that's why he's in the process all these years of helping owners deal with the same type of issues that he did. And one of the reasons why owners have a real problem with even talking about the whole thought of leaving the company is that according to ROCG and a survey by America's Owner Survey, one of the key top issues, 9 issues, why they don't want to engage, because the whole issue is too complex. They've never been in these waters before. This is a whole new terra incognito. They find it too intimidating and scary, and find that they can't find adequate advice to help them through the process. In fact, they know how to start a business, build a business, but a lot of them have never left a business. So they don't even know the questions to ask. And what this causes many of the owners is to decide to die at their desk. That's the best thing, alternative they can think. But this is going to have a major, major economic ramifications. But the reason why is if the owner dies at the desk, the business is going to die with them. The wealth of the family is going to get hurt. Is that all the employees are going to be let go. Is that the community is going to get hurt by the lack of revenue. And it's going to devastate the economic future for our children and our grandchildren. Because what we're talking about here is the biggest wealth transfer in the history of mankind. $10 trillion. So the best thing owners can do is to die at their desk. $10 trillion of value will be lost. What we're going to be discussing is transition programs. And basically, the analogy is that you can apply these to what your comfort level are. You can either go into the top step of going into the pool, or second or third, or go down deeper. And that's what we'll be sharing. you don't feel comfortable dealing with this whole issue of the head and heart issues, but you know it's important so owners can begin to engage with you, we have a non-intrusive, tangible handbooks that you can give to the clients to help them start moving on to the whole discussion, both of what am I going to do with my business and what am I going to do with my life afterwards. The first one on the business is Successful Business Transition Handbook. You know, how to decide what to do with your company and create a successful business transition strategy. Basically, you're going to be able to make money by helping owners work through the transition-related emotional issues. So many of the owners, their company is their baby. They're emotionally attached to it. And they view the business as their company. What they really need to do is to be able to make a separation between their personal lives and the business, so they can create value, so it will be of potential value for a buyer. They need to know what to expect during the business transition process, and also they need to create personal business transition goals so they have clarity for the future. The benefits of the handbook is it provides a superior option to more expensive, time-consuming technical exit planning certification programs. In fact, I was doing a mental readiness section for a certification company, and after my presentation, one of the advisors happened to be an insurance broker, was saying, "Oh my word, I didn't realize how complicated this exit planning is." The beauty of this, what we're talking about, the Successful Business Transition Handbook, is that you don't have to go deeper into all the technical information. Also, it deals with the emotional issues. As the owners are dealing with getting clarity in what the goals are, what the process goals are, what the financial goals are, is that there's also still an emotional attachment to them. And you're also going to be able to help motivate owners to take action and hold them accountable, which is key. And also it helps them stay committed during the business transition process. It's going to take, usually to transition business, it's 3 to 5 years. So there's a period of time they need to stay with the process. And it provides them a great overview that lays out the options in plain language that any business owner can understand. And also it helps them to provide knowledge so they feel comfortable in discussing their details with advisors. Specifically, in the handbook, you're going to help owners understand the complexity of the whole process, recognize and work through the emotional issues, envision their companies continuing successfully without them, be able to separate themselves from the company, know what to expect, be mentally and emotionally prepared to stay with the process, understand the personal and business transition goals, know the criteria for choosing the best new owner, and also the criteria for making the companies ready for transition, and understand the importance of professional advisors. Part of the process is the finding an owner for your business and for your life, which actually was voted one of the top management books in 2002 by the Small Business Book Awards. And what it talks about, again, it's not the financial issues or the transaction issues. It gives them an overview of both. But, you know, how they can mentally approach the whole process of leaving. And successful, unsuccessful ways other owners have done the transition process. You know, step-by-step advice for them to get moving and exercise to motivate them. You can co-brand the book, put your marketing message, a banner special edition on the front, and with your marketing message on the back. Total cost of that was a one-time charge of $300. What if you really don't want to go into this, just want to, again, give give the owner the handbook and the finding a new owner. What you can do is to use the book to open up new conversations with those prospects. So all of a sudden you can send the book with your marketing message to an owner and open up a whole conversation. Fundamentally is that people, grandparents and our parents, they retired in the traditional retirement mode, which was leisure recreation. They would play golf or shuffle, basically just do leisure. And the major issue is that most baby boomers are not interested in the traditional golden years at all. They have too much vitality, they got too much energy, they have they got another whole new third of their life, which is shown is basically in a new way of living. Historically, people got an education, got a professional career, and then retired at 65. And statistically, the majority of them were dead at 68. But we are the first generation in the history of mankind to be given the gift of longevity. We have another 10, 20, 30 years, what we call the platinum years. And it's the best time of their life where it's dynamic. Previously, in the old traditional golden year retirement, people just retired and never worked again. We're saying is no, they still can work, maybe not the 60, 70 hours that they want. They were previously doing smaller increments of work, but they can take time off for travel, go back to work, take time for leisure activities, and fill that what most of the owners would consider a void with a whole new meaning and a whole new purpose. Then you can help them in the retirement journey handbook, which helps them to avoid exit remorse. So many people will leave their current positions at companies or the corporation or any position that they are, and shortly afterwards they started wondering, what if I didn't go? What if I should have stayed? And their future becomes a whole story of what ifs. The other one, the handbooks you can help them avoid, is retirement rut. That happens usually about 3 to 4 months after someone leaves, after the euphoria of the honeymoon. And all of a sudden they got all this extra time on their hands. And what they're doing now is just filling it up with meaningless activities. They're doing things just for the sake of staying busy. And very often they dig themselves into this hole of a rut. And they look up at some point in time and say, I have no purpose in my life. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just busy for the sake of busy. My analogy is very often they feel like they're a gerbil and they can't just running and going nowhere. The other thing you can help them avoid is post-transactional stress disorder, the other PTSD. This usually happens about 12 to 18 months. A person will just take one idea. I want to play golf, or I want to be near the grandchildren. And they take the one idea and they go run with it. I'll give you an example of the being there with the grandchildren. There was an owner that I had known, sold the company, and convinced his wife to move out to Denver to be near his son, because he wanted to be near the grandchild. And the wife did not want to go because their friends were here, and they had strong community connections. But he convinced her. So sure enough, they moved out. They sold and moved out. And after a period of time, what happened was that the realization that the grandchild doesn't want to be in grandpa's lap all the time. They got life of their own. And the same thing can happen with another person I know, was wanted to play golf. So that was the only one idea. He moved down to Florida, and we realized after a period of time that playing golf 7 days a week was not as much fun. And with that, when they have one idea and it doesn't work out, they don't have any plan B. They get bored, they get depressed, and they're going to die prematurely. The handbook also helps them avoid gray divorce. Is that we are the baby boomers are the fastest growing demographics of people experiencing divorce. Statistically, in 1990, 10% of divorce was people 50 plus. Now it's up to jumped up to 25% and growing. The handbook also adds years to people's lives, but because it provides them with a whole new sense of purpose, which has been shown to reduce the risk of stroke by 73%. It reduces the risk of adverse cognitive health outcomes in regards to dementia and Alzheimer's. And also it helps avoid people being bored, which can lead to anxiety, depression, and drug and alcohol addiction. In the handbook, people will be creating a framework for purposeful living. The first one is physical health. What are they going to do to keep physically healthy? The reason why that's number one, obviously, if they can't get out of bed, all the other activities are off the table. Intellectually stimulated, what they're previously doing, where it's solving problems du jour. Once they leave, how are they going to keep their minds intellectually stimulated? They need to find a recreational and creative activities. Also, again, there's activities with their spouse and partners. There's a merger going on. You have the CEO of a company and CEO of the house. What they need now is to create a common sheet of music, a shared values, shared outlooks, because again, they have another third of life coming up. And also, what do they want to do with family members? Residents, do they want to stay in place? Do they want to upsize, downsize, or totally move away? They need to think about these type of questions. Again, social connections. So many people is that their social connections are with employees, with their customers, with their vendors. Once they leave, where are they going to create a whole new social network? If they don't, they're going to die prematurely. In fact, from Harvard Medical is that you might as well smoke 4 packs of cigarette a day. That's the same effect that loneliness will do. And this is a real issue very often with men. Is very often the woman will have a much more easily you can create new social connections. Men very often will be isolated and be at home during the day. Again, where they want to express their spirituality and faith, which becomes more important as we age. Then again, we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Income-producing work. What type of work do they want to do in the platinum years? And then how they want to give back, volunteer or philanthropic work. They'll look at how each of their options all interact with each other and be able to make a tactical plan for how they'll actually implement it. And that will be done through 7 strategic steps, which is the core of the handbooks. It provides a comprehensive, systematic, step-by-step methodology. Also, with the retirement journey handbook, people are also going through a major life transition, and that's when they create a new life after a divorce. Again, there's an ending of the past life. The beginning of a new life has started. They need to be able to fill in that void and figure out what they want to do in all 10 aspects of their life. And the same thing with creating a new life after the death of your loved one. Again, there's obviously a huge void, and they need to fill that void in with new meaning and new purpose. And the next handbook is creating a new life after the last child has left home. Is that so often the parents have been been so involved with obviously bringing up the children and to bring them to sports activities, soccer games, etc., is that there is going to be a experience of large void when the youngest child leaves home. They need to create a whole new common sheet of music with them. And all with the handbook programs, so what's included is a answer to who am I when I'm no longer a business owner, no longer married, no longer a parent, no longer with my loved one. Part of it is part of the program is the 7 principles of living with authenticity. Discovering your true self when facing life changes. So this helps fill in that existential void. Again, this book can also be co-branded, and your marketing message can go onto it. In regards to the coaching program itself, it creates a whole new money-making opportunity for you. And it starts at a very fundamental key aspect. Is that people have to think differently. Very often in the business world and professional world, it's a very either-or, competitive, I win, you lose, zero-sum mindset. But that is exactly the kiss of making a successful transition, because people now have to expand their thinking. For instance, taking this glass of wine, would you say it's half full or half empty? I have found that because of conditioning, most 90% of the people will say it's half full. But actually, it's both and. It's both filled with wine, but also filled with water. So people need to start thinking in a both and way thinking. And also, they need to know their way they make decisions. Part of the training program is a decision-making style questionnaire and report. And what I found way back in 1992, I was doing research over in Harvard, is that there are 5 distinct ways that people make important high-stakes decisions, such as what am I going to do with my company and what am I going to do with my life? Push come to shove is that each one of us has a default way we're going to make that. It just feels comfortable. So it's very important to know what is the predominant way that a client is going to make decisions, because the reason why is that they're going to be able to know what goals they want to achieve, how they're going to obtain information about the issues they have to decide on, how they assess or analyze the issues, how they're going to make the final decisions, and how they're going to implement the decisions. And the benefits of knowing the decision-making style of prospects and clients is that it helps you build faster and better rapport. It helps you guide discussions for successful outcomes. Helps clients meet their goals. And you're better able to work together. And fundamentally, you can make more money and close more opportunities. Part of the training program in the handbook program is psychological selling best practice guidebooks. And in it, you'll be able to know the client better, so you can basically help obtain new clients and deal more effectively with them over the period of time. Because you'll be able to recognize the decision-making style profile by the very attire and their personal characteristics. For instance, when I give presentations, I'll usually stand in the back of the room and talk to people, greet people, and they come in. And very often, just the way they dress and the words they use, I can pick up what type of person that's going to be in the audience. You're going to know the best ways to communicate and persuade each decision-making profile. You'll be able to sell the coaching programs to the 5 decision-making styles. And in the guidebook, there's application exercises that you can apply to sell your primary services. And also, since words matter, you'll know which words that most resonate with each profile. For instance, if you use a set of words with an enthusiastic that's really geared to an analytical, you're going to lose them. So words matter. The more you can incorporate the words that most resonate with them, the more you're going to be able to just they'll stay with you. The training itself is a comprehensive, and it's free. What's included is a selling brochure for each one, for the business succession, for the retirement, for the divorce, loss of loved one, or empty nest syndrome. You have selling slides for each. You also have PowerPoint presentations to sell. There's a training webinar, which you'll be working with me. We'll do it 2 hourly programs. Reference manual that you can refer back to if you have any questions. You have PowerPoint session slides and facilitation notes that you can use with clients. You have a 192-page client handbook and a corresponding coaching guidebook. And you also have free listings in our advisor network on the website. The cost of the training is basically 4 handbooks, but really it's no cost because you're going to be able to use these to coach clients. And we feel so confident in what we're doing is that we offer a money-back guarantee. If you feel that the handbook or coaching training did not meet your expectations, you simply return the materials and your money will be promptly refunded. Besides the handbooks, both just giving the handbooks to a client or do it through the coaching program, we have other programs that can help you go deeper if you so desire. And this is where you can do private coaching, one-to-one, where you help owners decide what to do with the company. Again, one-to-one coaching, 9-week sessions. Then also the Decide program. Then you also have the Explorer coaching, which is a short coaching program for late career professionals. That's 2 60-minute sessions. Or the What's Next coaching program for baby boomer business owners, which is 2 90-minute coaching sessions. We train you in the workshops. You can give the Explore one for both in, say, accounting firms, law firms, any professional organizations. You also do the What's Next coaching program workshop for business owners, and also Living with Purpose, which can be a 2-day or a 1-day workshop. And also what's available for you is self-reflection, which is exploring your life, shaping your future, and the What's Next self-assessment. So basically what you're doing is making these available for the prospect or the client to do it on their own. So your programs are transition planning consultant, then a business transition advisor, Explore coach, or a product partner. Everything is money back guaranteed, and the training will be 40 hours for transition planning consultant, 12 hours for business transition advisor, 7 for Explore coach, and 2-hour training by me for a product partner. And if you're a financial wealth management financial planner, the handbook, both giving the handbooks or doing the coaching program or any of the other programs we have, is a great retention and acquisition strategy. What it comes down to is studies have shown that the average wealthy person has 4 advisors. But when they go to retire, they're going to go down to 1 to retire. And you can be the advisor at choice of retirement if you help them deal with the soft issues. All of a sudden, you're going deeper with them, and you're going to have a client for life. And also, the beauty of it is that you're actually adding a whole new level of significance to your product offering. So you feel better. The reasons why you want to choose STPI to close: we provide highly effective programs for clients and prospects. Your clients and prospects can get unstuck on the subject of the inevitable transition from the career, business, or people experience a major life transition. You can use multiple effective programs to leverage your professional services. We provide you with the marketing tools to use for lead nurturing. You get your profile free on our advisor network. And all our assessment documents and tools are in the cloud that you can access. And you can use the easy dashboard to manage your ads and track results. Is there any questions? Oh, I'll switch it over to you.
Thanks, Jack. Just take a look here, give people a moment to get some questions. One question is if someone were to, an advisor wanted to do this sort of training and they started out, say, at a coach or a partner level, will they be able to upgrade to something later, and how does that work?
Yes, good. That's a good question. Yes, you can titrate up, and the beauty of it is that whatever you have invested is you not lost at all, but it's applied to the up to the next training. So, for instance, if you spend $500 and the next program is $1,000, for your $500, the difference would only be the $500. So,
okay,
you're definitely not losing money in this too.
Great. And the training would overlap in a similar way. They wouldn't have to repeat what they don't need. Correct.
Yeah. And what our training program is three-pronged, which is highly effective. The first one is to experience it as a client. So you experience it as a client, and I would be the transition plan consultant or the transition advisor or the coach, etc., and you're the client. And after that experience that needs to be 2 green lights. You can say to me, Jack, gee, this is not what I expect. And I say, okay, just return the material, training material, and here's your money back. But also is that it needs another green light from me. Because I can say, and I have in the past, you've been very, very successful in your area, but I don't think you're going to be good in this area of helping clients. So here's your check back. So it gives me quality control. And then once we have 2 green lights, so you experience it, then you learn it, and then you practice it. We give you credits for you to work with clients so you can build up your confidence.
Great. All right, very good. Let's see what else we have here. So when someone were to work with a client, say in a business transition program, what happens there? How does that really work from getting started to finishing? How many sessions and how long are the sessions and so forth?
The What's Next coaching program is 2 90-minute sessions. Then the handbook one, the Successful Business Transition Handbook, is that you work with clients, you create some foundation to show the client how to do it. And then what they can do is that you arrange periodic coaching sessions with them. And what you're providing them is so valuable, is that's accountability. Because so often they're busy what they're doing. They got the role as chief operating officer, so their plates are full. But all of a sudden they know that they have a time allocated where they're going to have a session with you. Then they get things done because there's accountability, and also is that you can provide them with advice. I've always found it's pretty hard to be objective inside your own head. So it's really nice to be able to bounce ideas off of other people. So that can be really, the handbook coaching can be geared into where that business owner client is coming from.
Very good. Okay, so next question relates to some of the other subjects, such as divorce and widow. I mean, is that something that normally is handled by psychologist? How would someone who doesn't have that sort of training, help someone?
Again, a good question. What this does is basically we're not asking advisors, even though we have trained psychologists, to be a psychologist, etc. What we're doing, we have dressed up the important issues of what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Where am I going to find the meaning and purpose? We dress these type of soft issue questions into a very methodical, step-by-step approach. So we have trained people from mergers and acquisitions, estate planning attorneys, wealth management, the whole spectrum of business improvement people, of advisors and professionals, and they all feel very comfortable in working with clients using our step-by-step methodology. Again, we're not going that deep into psychological issues.
Okay, I don't see any new questions here right now, so I guess we will leave it at that. This is being recorded, and so everyone who registered for this, and certainly those who showed up today, the recording will be sent out in an email, or link to the recording, I should say, should be sent out in an email tomorrow, so you can re-watch it, or if you missed the first half, what have you. And by all means, feel free to share this with colleagues that you may have who want to talk about it. If you do have questions, feel free to call us, Jack Direct there, or the toll-free number. There is a slight typo in the website. It's platinum years, not platinum. Sorry about that. But that's where we are. So thank you again, everyone. And thanks again, Jack. Have a great day.